Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful back in the studio today to continue working on vintage books that I'm turning into journals. So if you're just catching me for the first time, welcome. Please say hello down in the comments. I hope that you enjoy this video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up and click on subscribe so that you can keep up with what we've been working on. I've been working for a while now on a series. This is video number 12 in the series. I actually changed the name of it today. It started with the 5 Little Peppers. I had done a few journals before this one, and I did not show them start to finish in detail, and I'd had some comments about that. So I went ahead and started a new playlist with the 5 Little Peppers. And so I'm just going to show you the outside real quick today. All I've done since the last video was to add some ribbon for a closure, and I just kept it really simple. I did find this button that I was kind of half tempted to put on it, but if you're going to put it in a bookcase, then that's kind of doesn't work really well. And maybe you lay it on a table, I don't know. Because these are going to be sold as naked journals in that they're not really decorated too much, you can always add something extra, a little charm or something to it if you like. So I just added some ribbon that I had that I thought looked really good with this one. So these will eventually, I got an email from somebody yesterday. Eventually when I'm ready to part with them, sometimes it takes me a little while because I want to keep working on the insides a bit, and I'm kind of attached to them. So I kind of came up with this theory in my own head that maybe if I make a whole bunch of them, then I will not be so attached to them, and then I can put them in my Etsy shop. So that's my goal. Hopefully these will all end up in my Etsy shop at some point. And when I do that, I will do a video flip through of the entire journal and list it at that time so you'll know when it's there. Okay, so, and I think you can also follow my Etsy shop, and then when I do post something new for sale, a new item, then you would get a notification if you check your account often, I guess. Anyway, so today though, we're going to continue working on what I'm going to call Baldwin's Readers. Again, this is number 12. There will be a link down below. I kind of keep a running description down there of what this particular video will be about, but then there's a link to the playlist for this entire playlist. Then I also put links to videos that I may have mentioned in this or previous videos that are kind of on topic, maybe things that you might want to go back and watch that are kind of related, unrelated, like maybe they're more specific on how to rust fabric or copyright or how, beginner's guide to buying digitals, that kind of thing. Then I will also put links to certain digitals that I may have used in a project. I will have those down below. And then some of my favorite tools and things and glues and that kind of thing that I like, papers, different things that I like to use. So you'll find that all down in the description. Okay, so we're working on this new journal. Last video, I walked through choosing the papers for the signatures. And in this one, you can see is much thicker than my example because I didn't film this. It wasn't as wide a spine as I like because I want to actually be able to see all the signatures in the spine. So I do like how this turned out, and it's just a nice size. It's a little smaller journal, so there's, you know, less pages. This one I ended up doing it double the size. So if you watched, I'm going to put this one aside. If you watched yesterday's video, I was doing, the previous one had 8 signatures. I did 12 thinking that might be enough, and it probably would have been enough, but I went ahead and doubled it and did 16. So I've added 4 more, and I think that way when you see how tight these get when they're sewn together, you'll see I'll still have plenty of space and be able to see the spine. And I just like that. I just think it's interesting. So I will kind of go through because the next step to doing this is fine-tuning your signatures. Now, I only did on camera yesterday the first one or maybe 2, where I trimmed my pages down to the size that they needed to be and started reinforcing them. So I'm going to kind of do this so we can watch, and I might sit down here. So I've trimmed them down. I'm going to kind of just flip through. I did this one on camera. I just trimmed that edge, and then I reinforced this with some tape. And then I reinforced this one with some tea bags. So that one I did on camera. So we're gonna put that one aside. And then this is the next one. I went ahead and did my rest of my trimming off camera, but I didn't do all of my reinforcing. I did some so that it won't take, be such a long video. So I'll show you what I did, and then some I haven't done so that I will, there were situations where it might be good to do it on camera. Okay, so this one was the ledger, and it was very fragile because it's actually out of an old ledger book that the pages were super big. So I know that anywhere I fold this, the paper's gonna crack. So I used the tape that I showed in the last video, where it's just my kind of version of making old looking yellow tape. And then I kind of liked how this edge was a little crusty from the glue when I pulled it out of the book. So I just used a scrap piece to thicken that up, glued it down, and then used my sewing machine and stitching. And then I used the tea bag. Actually, this tea bag is the new tea bag paper that I have. And it's very white, but this is just some scrap from actual tea bag paper that you can buy. And then I used it, but then I grunged it up with my distressed oxide vintage photo. So, you can take something new and make it look a little old. Okay, that. And then this one is the one I just folded over the edges. And I think I'm going to leave that. If you want to turn that into a tuck, you can, or tear it off to use it as decoration. So I'm going to leave that. And then this one I need to finish. This one is just the school paper, and then I'm going to make it into a pocket. So to do that, one thing that I like to do is I like to cut a little sliver where that pocket fits in the crease. That way it's just a little less bulky. So just the tiniest little sliver. And I just did that to where the fold was. So it kind of gave me that split. And then that way I don't end up with so much bulk, and it works this way better. So this, for a pocket, I could just leave this as a flip down. And I may do that because whoever ends up with this book may want it to be a pocket, or they just might want it to be a place to write something and then fold it back up and have it fit. So maybe I won't make that into a pocket, but that would be the first step that I would do. Second step would be making this a little bit thicker and then putting a little notch with just a little circle punch. And I've done that in previous videos, and I may end up doing it further down the road here. So let's just leave that for now as a little fold down thing. And then the next one was one of my, I think this is one of the new ones, maybe. No, maybe not. This paper is one of my fun grunge techniques that I've done. It really gives the paper a nice thick texture when you do that. So this one again was done with some grungy tea bag, and I went ahead and did it on both sides. And I just really like how that looks. It's a nice color. It has that vintage kind of feel. Then this was the receipt paper. And then this was the map, the two different pieces that I needed to create a folio with. And again, I just used my tea bag on one side, and then I've used a strip of fabric that I put on with my glue stick on the other side. Now you notice how nice these are and tight, the nice folds. I keep my iron right next to me and turned on while I'm crafting because I really like to iron my pages. It also helps dry things out quicker. If you have this fabric with some glue on it, even just a glue stick, that needs to dry, and maybe it ends up drying kind of wonky. I like to just hit it with my iron real quick, and then that makes it nice and sharp folds. Okay, and then this was my faux wallpaper. I ended up, this doily was a little bit too big, and it's also fragile to grab. So I just ended up folding that over and gluing it down with my glue stick, and that way it gives me something a little easier to grab onto. And I just like how that looks. Who knows what anyone will do with this, but you know, to attach a little photo on with little photo corners, or you know, putting a little corner pocket, you know, here, maybe with that smaller doily. What did I do with that? You could take, you know, a smaller doily like this and, you know, fold it even into, and glue it down so it's thicker. And then wouldn't that be just a cute little place to tuck a photo? You know, create kind of photo corners out of a doily. And then my dictionary page, this one wasn't too fragile, but you know, I know what happens with old things. The more you play with them, they do become fragile. Especially if you have difficulty sewing your signatures in, sometimes your holes get a little bigger than you want. So it's nice to reinforce at least one side on a piece that doesn't really need it. And so this one, I just used a piece of washi tape. I recently finally ordered some more washi tapes. Oh, I put this in here for a reason. I have to remember what the reason was. Oh, I remember now. So this one was the lined paper, and I've gone ahead and folded it, but I didn't finish it up because I kind of wanted to show you how you can get creative with your folds. I think this one was already folded in kind of this way when I grabbed it out of my bin. So what I've done is I made my little cuts here where I needed to. And then I decided, because it's always nice to reinforce a pocket, I decided to utilize that it was decorative and folded it down. And because it was tea stained, it kind of has a different color even. So I need to glue those down, but I thought might be fun is to put something behind it so that you see through that. And then that gives it even cute, you know, little just decoration. You can take a pen and then doodle around this or do whatever you want, but I just thought it might be fun to have something to show through that. So I won't do this on camera because of taking up the time, but my plan is to glue those down, and then I'll make the gussets for here, which actually I could do that part and go ahead and glue that and just not glue this until I'm ready. But I have a feeling I'm going to have other pockets I can show you in the other one. So that's my plan for this. I won't take the time on camera right now, but that's what's going to happen here. So I'll do that. And then where did I go here? So this one fit pretty well. I think I ended up cutting this one down a little shorter so that something would stick up. And this one was just reinforced with my tape on one side and the tea bag on the other side. And then I had this little guy's fine. I could reinforce it if I want. And then this is new paper, the Mulberry paper, so that's fine. And this I haven't done anything. And again, these I could make into tucks now or later. They don't need to be done before I sew them in, so I could say that this one's ready to go. Really, I'm just trying to do anything that I need to do before they get sewn into my book. So same with this. I could turn this into a tuck or just leave it as a flip, but that can be done later. This is new paper, so it's fine. This one was that index that I needed to put two pieces together to create one, I think, yeah. And so I just used the tea-stained tea bag. And then this is some washi tape. And it's kind of fun as you're playing, you know, as you're doing things, you can choose a washi tape that maybe gives you a pop of color like that does. And then I have this that had a little bit of red and blue too. So it just kind of gives that little signature, a little, you know, something that ties those pages together. And you can see what I meant in the last video, how once you cut things down to fit, you don't, it doesn't look like such a big void of space, and things maybe match better than you thought they were going to. Oh, this is one that I need to work on still. So this is an example of maybe not folding your paper totally in half. Maybe it started out that way like this one did, but I decided I could turn this, if I reinforce this, into a tuck. And then I made 2 pockets, so there's a smaller pocket on this side. And when you need to reinforce this edge, again, I just utilized the fact that this was solid so that I could fold it over. And I can just glue that down, and now that will be sturdier there. So let me go ahead and do that, because then I can make those into pockets. So pockets is kind of nice to maybe go ahead and do them. Again, if you've made this cut, you can do them after the fact, because then at least you've got them sewn into your book where the flap is there, that you can reinforce this edge if you hadn't done that yet. Okay, so that's reinforced, and that needs to dry before you try to clip it with your little your little circle punch. You want that to dry. That's when the iron comes in handy, because you can get that dry real quick and then do it. If you try to punch when they're wet, it kind of bites it without cutting it. And then this again, I could make this. I would need to reinforce it. And because there's holes, it's kind of fun maybe to put something behind there that you see through the hole. So I won't do that now, because that doesn't have to be done before it goes into the book. Same with this, I could leave these down, but I'm going to go ahead and show you in case you haven't seen my previous videos. If you have, just fast forward, but I'm just going to make some gussets so that it allows you more room in those pockets. So I'm just going to grab a little scrap of something. It could be anything, but this looks close to the right size. So I'm just going to make 4 little, you just fold them in half, and then they need to be the height, so I'll need to trim those down a little bit. They could be a little bit shorter, but you don't want them sticking above, because what I'm going to do is glue this down, 1 on each side, and that just allows me that little bit of room in there. So I need 4 of them. They don't have to be straight. You don't have to measure anything. You're just wanting to create this little spot. And because these are so white, if you're afraid you're going to see it out the corner, you could always take and dirty those edges up if they're very white like this. That's kind of being super detail. And then you could use glue stick or PVA glue. PVA glue is just any kind of white glue. So you're just doing it where the fold is on the outside. And then that way, when I glue it down to the pocket, it just allowed me a little bit more room there. So sometimes when I do this one, I'll use like a fine applicator, because I don't want it to accidentally get here and glue down on my, but you could also just do this. I just don't want to get any glue on anything that I don't want. There. And then when I fold those up, actually I should have punched my thing first, because sometimes it might be hard to get that punch in there. It'll fit in this one, but I'm hoping it's dry enough. So I would just kind of do a little notch. You don't have to do that. I like to, just because it lets me know there's a pocket for sure there, and not just something that's glued down. And then I like to maybe dirty up that edge so that I see that. Okay, so that's how you do a gusset. I'll do the other side later. That's just to kind of show you, which I've done in other videos, but we're just gonna move forward. So the rest of our signature here is just a piece of paper and a piece of paper, so that's easy. And then this one I did with the doily. I just folded it up where that could be a little tuck of some kind. And again, this is so thin, I'm not worried about making that little slit and then gluing that down. this kind of just created your tuck. It's pretty fragile, but you could stick a photo in there. Something, slip of paper. So I have that. And then this. And these shorter pieces, I kind of talked about this before, but we'll really pay attention to it when we're actually putting our signatures together. You want to kind of keep in mind where you're going to attach it so that you have it captured with the most holes. So otherwise it could be wobbly. So we'll look at that more when we start to really put it together. And this one, again, just some washi tape. I didn't do the inside. It was actually in pretty good shape. Here's another pocket and a flip. So this was one piece of music paper. So what you would do is you would fold it in half, and then whichever direction you want your tucks to go would go one way, and then your pocket the other direction. And I like how this paper was coffee stained and baked because it made one side lighter and one side darker. So you get that contrast when you fold it. When you do this, you can, because this is an outside pocket instead of being on the inside, it actually folds okay. You could still cut that slit in there if you wanted, but then you would have to put some glue, you know, on the other side of your pocket. You could do this and just do a gusset on one side and leave this, you know, but it does make it a little tighter. So I'm going to go ahead, I think, and leave this, but I could cut it and then, you know, do gussets on both sides. So there's, you know, there's more than one way to do things. And then this was just a plain one. So, but you can see as I'm going through, I did not rearrange anything that I did on camera. So I'm really kind of, other than adding in some signatures, I added 4 more in. Other than that, I haven't like moved things around. And I was actually kind of surprised because sometimes I do that. Now this could be made into a tuck again later on if you want. And then this seam here, I would just leave that as a flip though, because it's good writing space. So that one, other than trimming everything down, didn't need anything. And this one I also reinforced with some fabric. And a lot of times I'll use the wrong side of fabric, and this was very white, so I actually used my vintage photo to dirty it up. But I use the reverse side of the fabric. That way it makes it, even if it's not a vintage fabric, it makes it look old. So we'll just do that. And I did tea bag on the inside. And then this again is one that's going to be a pocket on the inside. And then this could be a tuck or just a flip out. So actually I want to do this, and this doesn't have to be a pocket again. I consider any kind of ledger paper, graph paper, all that is good writing space. So sometimes I will just leave these in the book, not made into pockets, but I cut this sliver so that that doesn't get sewn in. And then that way, once it's sewn in, you can still pull these down and have writing space. So I think I'm going to leave all of that way. And then I think this was one of the new ones. Yep. So I was going to show you because I've just folded these. I haven't cut anything or reinforced anything. So this was one of my new signatures. So this is what happens when you do that kind of fold where it's a pocket on one side and that. And that, if you have a big enough page that you need to trim, you know, for your, to fit within your space, you can, you know, if there's enough, if it's big enough, you can make pockets in these tucks. And you can make it smaller. You can see that I've made it smaller than my other one so that I had a good amount of space there for a pocket. So what I would do, and this one's kind of fragile, is then you cut out this little corner. So I just trim that off. It's hard to see my line. And then save those. And now I need to trim this, my little sliver. And that's it. Now I have a nice gap here that this will fold. And I have my flaps here for my side little tucks. So these all need to be reinforced. So I need to reinforce this. I will probably do this one on both sides because I know how thin this paper is. And you want it to be really durable because you're going to be making pockets. The other thing you want to do is you want to reinforce this. Now, if this was big enough, again, I could just reinforce that edge. Or I can go and cut a piece and reinforce the whole thing, which is probably what I will do on this one. But again, I'll do it off camera just because of time. So that's what I will be doing for that. I'll be reinforcing this also. And then maybe making that a tuck now instead of waiting, because this is paper that's already busy and printed on. It's not like it's good writing. I mean, this is a good writing space because it's blank, but so is the other edge. And, you know, for me, I'm always thinking that if it's going to have tucks and pockets, that's where you put journaling cards or slips of paper folded in half, that kind of thing. So I like lots of pockets and tucks and things. So same thing with this one. This one, I cut it down. It was just a piece of music paper that was pretty good size. So I just, because I had pockets and tucks there, but I often like on music paper, you can often find the title is a nice space to fold over for a tuck. So I was able to have that work out on this one. So I could do it here, or I could put this one here. I don't know, I think I like this. Okay, that one. This is another new one, I think. Yep. So again, I just took a couple of pieces. This is pretty thin, so I would probably reinforce that seam there. Same with this is thicker, but more fragile, probably because of its age. And I don't often do these two similar going the same direction. In this case, I did. It's not normally how I would do it. But I didn't mind it on this one because I'm going to stagger them, and I like that they're different colors. And one's in French, and they're different enough that I didn't mind. And then this, again, was one that I had pre-folded, and it just happened to be a good size. And again, I will, regardless if I'm going to make that a pocket or not, I think I'll trim this because it's good writable space as just a flip down thing. So I could just cut it this way, but when I just take the smallest little sliver, I know that it's going to fold up nicely. So it can go in like this, and then you have more space to write. Okay, that one. This is another new one. Just a book page. I cut it so that this showed instead of cutting that off because I just kind of like the decorative element of it. And then this was another dictionary one that I'm going to do a pocket and a tuck. So again, I need to cut those corners out. Oh, and this one I did utilize the fact that it was big enough that I can just fold this over and have that be my reinforcement. So why don't we just glue that down? I could glue it the other direction, but I liked it just kind of hidden here. So I'll glue that down before I cut it. Okay, so this will be my pocket side, so I need to make my sliver here. And then I don't really need to reinforce those because I just glued that folded over, and so that's really enough. It's mostly that edge you want to reinforce. And then I can make my little snips there and make gussets. You don't have to make the gussets. I just like doing that because, let me see if I can get this to where I can see it better. I like making the gussets just because I know it allows more space in the pockets. So just cut out the little corner. On this side. It's easier to see from the darker side, I think. So there's my pocket side and my tuck side. And again, I'll reinforce this and then glue those down. I don't normally put gussets on tucks because they're longer, and so they usually just work fine. But I do like to reinforce that edge and use my circle punch to punch that. But I liked how these colors all went together. That's just nice. Okay, I like that one. Getting close here, guys. And then this one, this is another new one. Just a book page folded in half. That little piece I had pulled out. These were pieces I had pulled out the other day. Again, this is good writing space. So if I trim this, then I will be able to flip that down and or make it a pocket. So I just needed to do that so that I can get it sewn in and be able to still flip that down. And you could fold these the other direction if you want. If I wanted these holes, you know, if I wanted to be going the correct direction, I could do this, you know, and then it folds down like that. So either way. And then where are we here? Again, just using some washi tape on that side, fabric on the inside. And this is, this is what I used in the 5 Little Peppers, and this is from 5 Little Peppers. So not that anyone else would know that, but you know, I'm doing this, and this is kind of like, there's going to be lots of little hidden things like that that I just pay attention to when I'm building this. So here's another one that's folded multiple ways that I will need to trim those, you know, areas that I want, if I want them to be flipped down. So I would obviously need to do this one. Okay, so that's my fold. And then it could just be a thing that folds like this, or I could make the slit there, and one of them could be a pocket and one a flip down. So it gives me more options, so maybe I do that. I want to fold this straight though before I cut it. So you see, I could make that a pocket if I wanted. It's going to go like this. Or I could make this a pocket. Or just a flip down to write on. You turn the page and you have that. And then I have this. So same thing, I would want to maybe, I could leave that just like this is. Maybe I'll do that on this side. You could always cut those later. I don't think that would be too hard, since at least I have this cut where I need to sew it in. So we'll leave that. That's good. Okay, and then we're down to our last one. So again, tea bag, some washi tape. Here we go. And then some washi tape. So I think all of my spine sides are reinforced where I needed to. I think, you know, some of those pockets I could go ahead and make gussets, and I could do that now or later. I will do that off camera. And then my next step for this would be to even, you know, go through them again and fine tune again and make sure, you know, I have everything reinforced. The other thing that I would do is maybe start paying attention to those edges, anything that's fragile on the edge. You can do those after they're sewn in. I think in 5 Little Peppers, I did the next step after they were sewn in. But that would be to maybe make these little strips, is maybe take a day when you're to this point and you have this finished. I did this in 5 Peppers, so I'm not going to do this again on camera. But I take all your little strips that you cut off. So I've got a whole pile here. This is what's sitting next to my paper trimmer. All these little pieces. And I even say, you know, I just take them all. So what I would do is sort these, get all the really skinny ones aside, even random things like this. Pull all the skinny ones, because those are pretty useless other than what this box is. You know, some of these are wider, and, you know, like this is nice. And you can save the wide ones. I don't have too many wide ones in this one, but you can save the wide ones. And maybe I will do this on camera, but not in today's video, is just put them together. These are just put together random of my wide pieces that can make little scrap pads. So you want them thin enough that they could fit into a pocket in your journal. And I'll show you, actually there is a video in the 5 Peppers, so it's in this playlist, I don't know which number it is, of how I put these together past this point. But maybe I'll do just kind of a mass making one day, finishing these up. Because these can go in, you know, I would probably put at least one in each journal. And that's just nice because they're little scraps. You can use them as little journal notepads. You can tear parts off to use them to put like little word affirmations and things that then you maybe are putting onto a journal card or a page that you're doing, something like that. So it's kind of fun to have those. These are pretty useless. But I just keep all these little skinny ones and then just stack them, kind of layer them on each other without putting too much thought into it. And you can use a glue stick and, you know, kind of stick them together, just little strips, and then go, you know, sew on them with your sewing machine. Some of these, when I did the 5 Peppers, I had some liquid rust from rusting some metal, and I just used that rusty water and dyed some of these too, so that I got a little more color on them. But you can use your distress oxides and distress inks and things like that if you want to kind of make these more colorful. But just all these strips, it's a fun, you know, mass making, sit and just start putting these together, and then you don't waste any of this. So that's what the other box, this is what, after I've taken all the skinny ones out and made these, this is kind of still what I have left to use for decoration for belly bands and that kind of thing. So, you know, that's just kind of something I like to do on a mass making day when I need to maybe have a break from making, you know, working on the actual journal. Make this stuff up ahead of time, and then when you go to, you know, fine tune and start putting some fun things in your journal, you've got these made up already. So that would kind of be my next step, is to do that. And then, you know, like I said, finish up any pockets. Maybe I'll do a video on making some pockets that then we will attach, you know, that you can just glue on. I haven't done that yet. I did not do that in the red peppers, in the 5 Little Peppers. I keep wanting to call it red peppers. Okay, so that's where I'm at on this one. I need to do that little fine tuning. And because we're at, you know, where we are in this video, I think I'll stop this one. You've seen that. Now you can finish up this part. And like I said, for the edges, any fragile edges, you can do this now or later, gluing them on to, they're kind of nice as a way to, when you have a little tuck and you need to, let's find one. If you, to reinforce this, instead of putting something on the inside, you just take one of these decorative strips and glue it to the outside. So now that you have it decorated and it's a little bit thicker. So I would go next step, you know, while you're working on this, get your pages all to fit and do all of your reinforcing and all of that. And then in the next video, we will stitch these together. And then we're really almost finished with putting this together. It's really super easy. So it's a little tedious. I say it's super easy. It is, but when you have this many, it's more time consuming to get these all stitched together than doing, you know, a pamphlet stitch where you only have 3 signatures. This is much faster to do. So it's a little more time consuming, but it's a really neat look in the end. Okay, so work on your pages and I will work on mine and we'll get back together in the next video to put this thing together. Okay, have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.